Hello and welcome to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to ask you, what can I learn from your family?
So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to ask you the simple question, what can I learn from your family? So not too long ago, a couple episodes ago, I got interviewed by Motherhood Simplified, which is Krista Lockwood. And in that, she asked me the question, which I hadn't ever really been asked before, is why do you not post a lot of pictures or interactions with your kids or things like that on social media? And I said to her, and she kind of said the same thing in agreement. She said, I basically said, I don't want influence from other people because I'm pretty confident in my parenting style. And she said, that's kind of how I feel. I don't want necessarily the opinions of people because everybody's got an opinion. Like, I got an opinion, and this is why I tell you on I Don't Know Jack About Parenting that I don't know Jack. I'm not telling you my way is the right way. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, if that makes sense, and you can utilize that. You guys do the same, if that makes sense. It's just a perspective. I listen to a lot of perspectives, and a lot of them I'm like, ooh, I love that. And a lot of them I'm like, oh, I'm never doing that. And some of you, when you listen to this, may be saying the same thing, right? Like, that guy's crazy. I'm never doing that. He really doesn't know jack about parenting, which is perfectly fine because not everything I say is going to resonate with everybody. I understand that. So that leads me into what can I learn from your family? My wife and I and the boys just went away on a trip. We got invited. We're thinking about purchasing an investment property, or it'll be an investment. We're thinking about purchasing a cabin so that we could go away on vacations or getaways. But at the same time, we'll probably rent it out when we're not occupying it. So we have some friends who have a cabin, and we thought, hey, what was your process in purchasing your cabin? Why did you choose where you went, square footage? Like, what were your needs? Because they have very similar scenario to ours. 2 kids, we live close together, our kids go to the same school. I think we just have a lot in common. So they said, instead of just talking about it over the phone or getting together for a meal, why don't you come up to our cabin and experience it and see if you like this area, and we'll just talk about it while we're up there. And so we took them up on that opportunity. But here's the beauty. Great family, great people. Our kids get along very well. Really good friends. Our boys are good friends of each other. They have an older daughter, a little bit older, and then obviously we had the little one. And the daughter was kind of watching our little one, and the boys were playing. And what do I learn from their family? Because I think there's nuggets that we can take away from every experience. Like, ooh, I'm going to do that, or I'm not going to do that. And I talk about family traditions a lot in last year's episodes. And one of the things it seems as though they do, which I love doing, I've talked about it, it's in my book, is do puzzles with your kids, right? And when we got to the cabin, they were up there a day or two earlier than we were. When we got up there, they had already completed like 5 or 6 puzzles. And I'm not talking 5 or 6 like, 20-piece puzzles. We're talking 550-piece, 600-piece puzzles. So one of their family traditions is go up there in the silence, talk, and work together and build a puzzle. Which I think is awesome. But then it's the board games. I like to play a lot of card games. We've played a lot of Battleship, Monopoly, chess, checkers, and they had a lot of other card games. A game called Apples to Apples, and they have a Solitaire Frenzy, which I'd never even seen before, but was a blast. And we sat around and played games and laughed because there's more kids, right? There's more kids, kind of more fun. And I love that they have those traditions of just sitting around doing a puzzle, lounging around, talking, playing games together, laughing. We added a little something onto their game. This Apples to Apples, where you're just supposed to, the last person reads out who they are, and it's based on the cards, which makes it funny. And I said, why don't we make a paragraph or a sentence out of all the words? And then we started coming up with the funniest sentences and paragraphs. We played Mad Libs with the kids. I mean, we just did a lot of fun things where these kids don't even realize that they are learning and growing through this process. And then it brings me to, another friend of mine. What can I learn from his family? Now, he has adult children. And right now he is in the process of building out a deck in his backyard right off the lake. And they're going to have a screened in area with a hot tub right down by the lake. And they're really redoing their entire backyard. And he's building this from scratch himself. And I'm watching him post things on Facebook. And as I talk to him, I know that it's his son and his son's girlfriend and his daughter and some of her friends who are coming and pitching in as an adult family, building this project for their parents' home. And I'm thinking to myself, I admire that so much. I hope that my adult children, for those of you who don't know, or if you haven't read my book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, my ultimate goal is to have the respect of my adult children. And I don't think there's a better testament to having the respect of your adult children that when you have a multi-month project going on in your home, that your kids are showing up and helping you do it because you led by example of what it is to be a family and pitch in when things need to be pitched in, and they're not doing it because dad's telling them they need to do it or mom's telling them. They're doing it because they want to. And the fact that they get their spouse or friends involved is another testament of what it is to be family, right? And community. And everybody rolls up their sleeves and pitches in. So as I watch this unravel with the occasional pictures on Facebook or things that he sends me, I say, man, when he gives me advice, I listen, because his end product of his children wanting to be actively participating in not only that, but a lot of things they do as a family is what I want for my family and my kids. So my question to you is, good or bad? I just gave you two great examples of families that I choose to observe in a way that I want to capture what they are doing or have done so that those things are repeated in my family. So what can you learn from somebody else's family? When you go on vacation, what traditions do they have? When you go over their house, what is it that you notice that they do that you go, I like that? Because I can only imagine, and I've had people say this to me, like, how do you get your kids to do that? And I said, well, I talk to them, I listen, I talk to them with respect, I create boundaries, but I also have, I don't like the word expectations, but you know, they understand that they're expected to behave a certain way. But it's all through communication and love. And sometimes the love can be described as strict. You know, oh man, you're strict on your kids. I had a tough conversation with Christian just last night around, he said something to me, and I did something to him that he said was hurtful. Understandably so. I acknowledged it. I apologized. But he said something back to me that was 10 times more hurtful to me. And I think we had a conversation, a mutual respect conversation. We apologized to each other. We hugged it out. And we set new expectations and boundaries for each other. And people say, well, why do your kids listen so well? Because I listen to them. So instead of going, man, I wish my kids did that, when you observe other things, observe and or ask the questions. You know, don't just wish. What do you do? And I say I show up on a consistent basis. Both of these families I just described show up for their kids in a loving way on a consistent basis. Doesn't mean they don't have their faults. Doesn't mean that there are things that I may not want to duplicate that they do, and I'm sure vice versa. But at the end of the day, everything they do comes from their experience, but comes from a loving place. And that's why their families, from my perspective, on a bigger scale, not just the microcosm of a weekend or some Facebook pictures, because I know these people, it's why their families are a place of security and love. I know I want that for my family. And if you want that for your family, observe and see what they're doing differently that you could take and implement into your own families. Hey, I don't know jack about parenting, but I know enough about life to know that if other people are doing it the right way, I'm pulling out a notepad and taking notes. We'll see you in the next episode.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.